Hey everyone, it's Sparrowhawk, and I'm back again with another episode of Lily of the Valley, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump right in. Lily. As I walk home, the sun starts to set. Walking through the gently undulating valleys, flowers hiding shyly amongst the fronds of grass is more relaxing than I thought it would be. There isn't much to see in Wales, rain and sheep and hills studded with flowers. What little Wales does have, however, it excels in. The rain in Wales is almost always torrential. The sheep are white and fluffy like walking cotton buds, and the hills stretch out before your eyes in a vast carpet of green. I think I like Wales more than I like London. Then again, that isn't saying very much. I like most places more than London. The lack of pigeons is a definite plus. London pigeons are a distinctly depressing breed of bird, all missing legs, open sores, and crusted over eyes. I used to eat my lunch outside during sunny days, at a small park a stone's throw away from my office. After the pigeons had started flocking around me, however, desperate for a bite of my cheap Greg's sandwich, I lost the heart. Watching them jostle for a crumb of tuna crunch was inexplicably soul-destroying. When I get home, the sky is bright orange, just like a Halloween pumpkin. The orange light filters through the windows, illuminating the kitchen in pulpy candy corn colors. Pretty. Everything the light touches seems to glimmer. The fridge, the cabinets, the table. Hazel's hair tied up in her typical ponytail. She's forgone the apron this time and is standing by the microwave, tapping her fingers against the inside of her arm. When she sees me, she turns and smiles brightly. Her ponytail bounces. "Welcome home." "Hey," I reply with a touch less enthusiasm as I shrug off my coat. I wonder what it would be like to return home from work every day, to be greeted by somebody who genuinely loves you. I'd still be working the same crappy job, and I'd still be stuck in London. The appeal of the big city wore off a long time ago, but at least it wouldn't be so lonely. You wouldn't think I'd be lonely, living in the most populous city of the United Kingdom. Around a third of England's population is gathered in London, crowded together on the tube, jostling elbows at Charing Cross, hemmed in on skinny streets. But having a stranger's cough on you during your commute hardly counts as social interaction. There's no fondness there. No friendliness, just an awkward attempt to avert the eyes, hoping nobody looks at you long enough to judge you. Not that most people bother. They're too wrapped up in their own problems. But the thought always lingers at the back of my mind, like the last uneaten onion from a 3-pack in the bottom of the vegetable crisper. What if? "Hey!" Hazel peers at me curiously, her arms behind her back. "Are you okay?" "I've been better." "Did something happen?" I recall my prior conversation with Lily. Her eyes bore into mine, unflinching and unforgiving like two hard stones. Did something happen? I'm not sure. She told me to smile. Maybe I should try to make an effort. "It's nothing to worry your pretty head about," I say, ruffling Hazel's hair. The gesture is much more avuncular than I would like. Gosh, I really am getting old. Hazel doesn't look amused. She swats my hand away and takes a step back, adjusting her hair with her hands. "Is my company that repellent?" I ask lightly. "I like your company, Dingus." "Dingus? What's one of those when it's at home?" "But I don't appreciate you treating me like I'm still a kid. I'm nearly 19. Still a teenager. For like another year or so, you should face the facts." Hazel puffs out her chest. "Your little sister is growing up." "Nah, no matter what you say, you'll always be a cute, lickable baby to me." "I have a boyfriend." I think you're much too young to have boyfriends, Missy. You should focus on your studies, like you cared about your studies when you were at uni. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. Whatever, says Hazel, rolling her eyes, but I don't think she's annoyed. Not really. There's a small smile playing about her lips. I like making Hazel smile. It lets me think, if only for a brief moment, that I'm not entirely useless. If I can cheer my little sister up, there might be some use for me in this whole old world after all. So what have you been doing? Hazel asks. I didn't see you all day. Oh, just walking, I say. Walking and thinking. It sounds boring. It wasn't that boring. It's a nice change of pace. From London? There's a lot cleaner and there are fewer pigeons. Oh, you fixate on the weirdest of things, says Hazel, shaking her head. I mean, it's London. Think of all the fun stuff you can do there. It must be way better than boring old Bangor. You're the one who decided to go to uni in Wales, not me. I didn't decide to go to Bangor. It's the only place that accepted me. You might as well make the most of it. You only live once. Seize the day. Something about carpe diem. I'd rather not hear that from you. You live in London, but you complain about the pigeons of all things. I laugh. Hazel pouts. I think she's trying to look annoyed, but after a while, she caves in. She starts to laugh too. The microwave dings over the sound of shared merriment, and Hazel jumps up. That's right! I almost forgot, she mumbles under her breath. She makes her way to the microwave, releasing the door with a dull thud. This microwave is an old model. We bought it before I moved out, so it must be over a decade old. The door gets jammed sometimes, and you have to punch the buttons with Hulk-like strength to get it to register anything, but it does the job. Oh, nuts! They're all burnt! More or less. What were you making? I ask curiously, taking a step towards my suffering young sister. Popcorn, Hazel replies, but I think I left it in too long. Look. She takes the ceramic bowl from the depths of the microwave, using oven mitts, I might add, and she shakes it beneath my nose. The acrid smell of burning hangs in the air. Some of the kernels buried at the very bottom of the bowl are fine, but most of the popcorn at the top is unsalvageable. They're charred black like soot and look distinctly unappetizing, like something mined from the surface of the moon. I pull a face. That's gross. I know, and it was the last bag too. I think we're running a little low on supplies. Well, yeah, Dad hasn't been shopping in a while. I don't think he feels up to it. Not after. Hazel's voice trails off. She doesn't want to say, not after Mom died. Ever since our muted game of Risk, the topic has become something of a taboo. There's no point of dwelling on things that will make us even sadder. Living in Wales, scenic though it is sad enough in and of itself. Hazel sets the bowl on the table and removes the gloves. Then she picks at the popcorn. She winces when the pads of her fingers make contact with the kernels and draws them away. Her fingertips are stained sooty black. Is it hot? I asked. Extremely. You're not going to eat that, are you? Well, I didn't make it to look at it, says Hazel, but she sounds unsure. I don't blame her. Here's a few words of worldly advice, I say loftily. I wouldn't eat those if I were you. No? No. They look like they should be in a containment facility, not in your stomach. I don't want there to be another death in my family, not quite so soon after Mom. I guess you're right, says Hazel in a reticent way of one who really doesn't want to admit they're wrong. But this sucks. Life sucks. And Hazel hasn't even started working yet. What is that about? Pouting, Hazel deposits the contents of the bowl into the dustbin. I really, really wanted popcorn. We can't always have what we want. I know, but it's like a staple food if you're gonna have a movie night. You are? Yeah, I found some of my old DVDs in my room and I got kinda nostalgic. Besides, there isn't much to do around here. What about your friends from school? Can't you hang out with them? Unlike me, Hazel was pretty popular at school. She was forever getting Mom to ferry her across carefully to see all her mates. What is that? Carefully? To see all her mates. I guess, says Hazel, frowning, but they're all at uni. Ah, of course, I say. I should have known. Hazel had to take time off so she could come back home for the funeral. She should really be back at Bangor. When are you leaving? I ask. The start of next week, she says. I wanted to stay a little longer. I don't know how well Dad's holding up, but I guess this will sound kind of cruel, but it's so boring here. I need something to take my mind off of everything or I'll go crazy. Nah, that's not cruel. It's true. You seem to be doing all right. I wonder. I really do. Maybe I needed a break. I've been breathing in the smoggy London air for much too long. It's warped me. No wonder Jekyll and Hyde was set in London. There's no better backdrop for a gothic horror about split personalities. Even the kindest, most mild-mannered of people can be driven round the bend after braving the London Underground for years on end. Hey, Hazel suddenly pipes up. Do you want to watch a movie with me? I don't have any popcorn, but I can make you a bowl of Shreddies. I'm not sure. Or Country Crisp? I think we have Frosties too. I don't know. After spending time with Lily, my head feels far too stuffed with thoughts. I think I need some time alone, a chance to relax and unwind. But the Frosties are a tempting offer. And it has been a while since I spent some quality time with Hazel. I don't think the funeral really counts. What movie is it? I ask. Hazel smiles brightly. She's got me, and she knows it. She really is a wily one. Toy Story! And she said she wasn't a child. Oh well, I suppose there are far worse ways to spend my evening than watching Toy Story with my little sister, balancing a cold bowl of Frosties on my knees. What else would I do with myself? Lie in my room and think? Too much, probably. I think far, far too much. It would be nice to turn my brain off for a while. If only that, for a while, could be stretched out into infinity and beyond. Oh gosh. Halfway during the movie, it started to rain. I could hear the droplets pelting against the window and rattling the panes. It's windy, too. I wonder how the violets in our garden are faring. They were always our mother's favorites, but she isn't around to appreciate them anymore. I lie in my bed staring up at the ceiling. No matter how I toss and turn, I just can't get comfy. The wind and rain continue to whip up merry hell outside. It's the kind of weather that makes me glad I'm in my home, lying beneath the covers and not out there. I suppose I'd feel even gladder if I weren't alone. If I was a child again, cradled in my mother's arms while she read me bedtime stories. But those days are long gone. I'm not a kid anymore. Hazel, despite her fondness for sugary cereal and children's movies from the 90s, isn't a kid either. She's getting older. We're all getting older. Like Great Aunt Enid. I don't want to end up like her. I won't end up like her. Will I? The thought is almost too miserable to contemplate. Even more miserable than the pigeons that congregate in London parks. What do they do when it rains? Not that it really matters. Does anything? Hello, mister. Lily? I sit up in bed, eyes wide and stare. With my open mouth, gaping stupidly, I must look like a fish, one of those sad, pitiable-looking fish you see in plastic bags, given away as prizes at fairs to screaming, sticky children. She sits on the windowsill as if it's the most natural thing in the world, as if she hasn't broken into my home. It's late. Far too late for an impromptu call like this. How impolite. She could at least have called ahead, but that isn't the real problem here, is it? How did you find out where I live? She shrugs carelessly. Such a typically teenagery thing to do. But she says she wasn't a child. Don't ask silly questions. I've always known. Does that make you a stalker? Maybe. I have been following you this whole time. This whole time? Ever since the funeral. Ah, my voice catches in my throat. She was following me? I never realized. It's true I've been feeling intense lately, but sad truth is I feel like this more often than not. It would be stranger if I was relaxed. When I think about it like that, my life sounds kind of sad, doesn't it? But why is a young girl like you pursuing an old man like me? I ask. Well, there isn't much to do in Wells, you know, Lily replies with a small smile. I have to give her that one. I guess it is quite a boring place, I concede. It rains so much. I know. At least the rain makes the flowers happy. The hills around here are so pretty. If you water flowers too much, they'll die. What a pessimistic way of seeing things. I know, it's my way, I'm sorry. Why are we having a casual conversation like this? There's something wrong with this scenario. What's going on? You're a pretty girl. Why are you so interested in me? I ask. Lily's eyes widen. You think I'm pretty? Isn't that obvious? People don't often call me that, she says. No? No, I get called a lot of things, but not pretty. What do people usually call you? She pauses, thinking. Stay away from me, you monster. I get that a lot. A monster? Yes. It's all a matter of perception, though. Lily frowns. She looks melancholy, sitting there perched on the windowsill, her hair tumbling about her shoulders. She looks almost like a fairy, or else a ghost. Her skin is so pale, her eyes light blue, an apparition framed by the dark blue sky and the twinkling stars. Lily, I say. Yes? What is it, mister? She replies. What exactly are you? I've sensed it for a long time, ever since I met her. This girl doesn't talk like any girl I've ever met. She doesn't look like one either. Her existence seems too frail and fragile, as though it might get blown away at any moment. Her slender body scattered to the breeze, just like Mother's ashes. She said my mother was her teacher. That was a lie. Why, then, did she go to her funeral? Why does this girl know so much about death? There's a small pause. Lily, still sitting on the windowsill, looks at me. I look back at her. A pretty girl. She really is, but is she really a girl? So you figured it out? Lily asks. You were dropping quite a few hints. That's right. I mean, I don't think it's fair when people lose their lives without any warning, without even knowing that it's happening. Just like my mother. Like your mother. That made me sad. She was such a nice lady. I wish I could have intervened. Lily sighs. We all do it differently, but I think it's more polite to give people a few days' notice. Give them some time to sort out their affairs, you know. I know, I say. Unfortunately, it's not always possible. No. There are too many rules, but at least I was able to talk to you after all. Lily frowns. I did promise. So this is it. Lily came here to kill me. This is crazy. That's what most people say. I can't believe you're the Grim Reaper. You don't look anything like what I imagined. Lily looks down at herself, blinking. Her white dress lined with pale blue frills, her slender legs and her bony knees. She frowns. No? You don't think so? I don't. I mean, look, you're not even wearing a black robe. But those are so uninspired. Ugly, too, she says with a pout. You could at least look the part. I'll dress how I want, thank you very much. And my head is pounding. This conversation is so surreal. It feels almost like a dream. You're going to kill me? Of course I'm going to kill you. You're really the Grim Reaper? You can call me that if you want. We have lots of different names. I don't much care for semantics. We? I repeat, raising an eyebrow. Naturally, Lily says, as though this is only to be expected. There are a lot of people in the world. I wouldn't be able to handle them all by myself. I snort. Some grim reaper you are. Hey, it's not an easy job. It gets pretty demoralizing, killing people all the time. I've been called a lot of unpleasant names. So even demons or whatever it is Lily identifies as has problems. I never would have thought. I guess your job is kind of like mine then. What do you mean? She asks. I work at a private health insurance company. Didn't I tell you? No, you didn't. But that doesn't really matter anymore. You won't be going back. So it's final then. Yes. Sorry, mister, she says, and she really does sound sorry. My hands are tied on this one, but don't take it too personally. It's just my job. Now, why does that sound so familiar? I'm sorry, Mrs. Bevan, but I can't insure your daughter's health. The company policy doesn't allow— What do you mean, company policy? The value of my daughter's life can't be dictated by some company? She's my daughter, and she— Regardless, there is a policy. I'm sorry to hear about your daughter, but— Heartless. You're heartless, all of you. What gives you the right to decide how much my daughter's life is worth? Don't tell me her life is worthless. Miss Bevans, please. Susie, my Susie, she, Miss Bevan. Monster, you monster. Don't you have any compassion? Then came the tears. Miss Bevan was sobbing at the end of the phone, sobbing over the fate of her daughter. Even if I did give her money, which I couldn't and I didn't, it wouldn't change anything. Susie was going to die. Leukemia is a terrible illness. But a little bit of money might have helped. It could buy a gravestone, afford a funeral service, even if it wasn't much, like putting a plaster on a gaping chest wound. It might provide some small comfort for the grieving family. But I couldn't do that. That wasn't allowed. And so, even though it made Miss Bevan hate me, and even though she called me a monster, there was nothing I could do. It wasn't my problem. I'm sorry, madam. My hands are tied. This is my job, you know. Of course, those words were mere pleasantries. It was nothing more than an attempt to avoid my share of blame. It wouldn't help anything. It didn't mean anything, and Miss Bevan knew that. That's why she said, her voice partially indistinguishable due to tears, "You would say that. You were trained to say that. But you know what? That's what the Nazis said too." Well, that was intense. I'm sorry, mister. I really am, she says. That's just how it is. It's all right, I say, swallowing. I understand. I can't argue with her. I don't have the right. That would be incredibly hypocritical, wouldn't it? But I still want to know. Why me? I ask. Why not you? Huh? But were you hoping for a reason? Something that you could accept? Something that would make you happy? Is that what you wanted? I suppose. Well, I'm sorry, but— Lily looks at me. Her light blue eyes are swimming. Though her voice is cool and mechanical, her shoulders are shaking. She looks like she's going to cry. That's just the way life is. You're born and then you die, and there's no reason for it. There's no meaning, there's no nothing, so don't try to look for a reason, and don't try to seek out an answer. There isn't one I can give you. Even though you're the Grim Reaper? Even so. Not even you know why, I ask. I don't. Nobody does. It's like trying to multiply numbers by 0 and hoping for an end product larger than nothing. It's not possible, not for anyone, regardless of whether you're a seasoned academic or somebody who can barely do their 5 times tables. How intelligent somebody is and how much experience they have, in the face of something impossible, none of that matters, she says. That's pretty nihilistic. I'm a pretty nihilistic person. I guess that's what happens when you've been to so many funerals, I say. Maybe it's inevitable. With so much death in the world, it's hard to be happy, she says. But I still remember. My voice trails off. What do you remember? Lily asks. I remember what you told me. You said, no matter what, even if there's no meaning to it, you should try to smile. That's right. I did. Lily lifts her head and looks at me. Her eyes are captivating. You could drown in them. How much death has she seen? How many people has she killed? Did she cry for all of them? Did she go to all of their funerals? Will she go to mine? Why do you want me to smile if you knew I was going to die? What's the point? I ask. There is no point. There's no point in anything, she replies simply. Then, but despite that, She pauses. Her lashes tremble. Her eyes sparkle. Running down her pale cheeks, white as a ghost's, I can see tracks of tears. Slowly, very slowly, like pilgrims journeying reverently to the promised land, they drip down her cheeks, turning them light pink. I wouldn't like to think she would go to my funeral. I would like her to sit at the back of the church, the same church my mother's funeral was conducted in only a few days ago, and pray for me. Her head bowed, eyes closed, hands clasped together. I hope that she would pray for me from the bottom of her heart. Not that I'll go to heaven. I don't know if I believe in it. Lily doesn't seem to. But if she prays for me, that might be enough. It might be enough to make the me of this moment happy. And isn't that the true meaning of life? All you can do is try to find your own happiness, try to make other people happy, and hope, even in the face of adversity, you can still find some things to care about, that you can keep on smiling. I think that's all we humans can do. I just hope Hazel isn't too upset. Hazel. She's too young to go to all these funerals. Far too young. But maybe she isn't as young as I think. We're all getting older. And sooner or later, we're all going to die. That's just how life is. It looks like we've at last reached the conclusion to Lily of the Valley. Guys, I don't know how I feel about this one. And to be frank, I wasn't all that charmed with the game. My feelings are in a mixed bag. And let me tell you why. Okay, so firstly, I wasn't all that fond with the romance between Lily and what's the protagonist's name? Mr. That's all Lily kept calling him. So we're just going to call him Mr. Anyway, from what I understood, Mr. was in the university working an office job in London, right? Well, Lily is a teenager, and isn't that pedophilia? I don't know. I was just deeply uncomfortable with all their interactions and dialogue, and this ruined the overall experience for me. Which brings me to my next point. I found the writing and dialogue to be way too sappy for my taste, not to mention the angst. Oh my gosh. The entire narrative was oversaturated with so much angst. Look, I know that these are elements other people may fully enjoy immersing themselves in, but this just wasn't for me. On a positive note, I did enjoy the soundtrack. The music was pleasant and made my overall gameplay well worth it. And that's all I'm going to say. Alright, well, I'm going to see if there are other routes we can take in this novel. So until then, take care, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye!